It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Would you be mine? Won't you, my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor?
So this video, I want to go over some basics. I want to talk about rep ranges that I use for different things, such as strength, power, explosiveness, hypertrophy, how to get bigger muscles, what I do. I want to go over some basic definitions so that we're on the same page when we're discussing things. When I say take a set to failure, I want to demonstrate what exactly I'm talking about. I want to go over cheat reps and how they can be beneficial, and I just want to dispel some kind of bro science that you might hear at the gym, or things that you might discuss when you're talking about working out with people, co-workers and family members. So let's go over some definitions real quick. One of the things I want to talk about is working set. Working set are the well, it's exactly what it sounds like. Your working sets. So you have your warm-up sets, and you have the sets in which you are using to produce hypertrophy or you know, gain strength. You know, the sets that you are counting towards your goals. A lot of guys they'll generally speaking, most people consider warm-up sets working sets. They're working too light. You know, they're pyramiding up. Say your goal for the day is you're going to bench 315, and you'll start off with 135, and then from there you go to 185, and then you go to 225. You're getting it going, and you're working your way up to your goal. I consider working sets anything, generally speaking, in that 60 to 90% range of your 1 rep max. Almost every time I lift weights, I do at least one working set to failure. I might refer to it as an AMRAP, which means as many reps as possible. Or I'll say, go take that last set to failure. If I'm training the guys, I say go to failure. What am I talking about when I say go to failure? Most people, when they hear go to failure, they're thinking, car crash, my wife's trapped under it, and you're going to try to lift it off of her. You know, those amazing feats of strength that you hear in emergency situations where, you know, people are able to summon superhuman strength and lift the burning car, and then, you know, the next day they you know, their back's messed up and they go on disability for 6 months. Yes, that is to failure. You know, you cannot physically, possibly, no matter what you do, accomplish that last rep. It doesn't make you could you know, you could do a mountain of drugs and nothing. Your body's just not physically able to summon the strength you need to do that last rep. What I'm referring to when I say take that set to failure is not quite pushing it that far. So we want to be safe. You know, remember, most of my videos, I'm training alone in my garage. I don't have spotters. And even though my equipment is set up to kind of catch stuff if it falls, I've got face guards. If I'm benching and I drop the weights, it's not going to break my neck. I got the rack set up. If I'm squatting and I need to dump it, I can do that safely. Generally speaking, I am set up so I can, if I want to, go to failure. But for my age and what I'm trying to accomplish, I personally don't think that you need to take it that far. Now, there is some benefits for certain exercises to do that, and we'll go over that. But for the most part, when I say take a rep to failure, or take a set to failure, what I'm talking about is keep going until you can't complete another rep with good, safe, proper form. And I will demonstrate. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to do a set of bench, moderate weight. It's about 185 pounds. And I'm going to go one rep past what I would consider failure. So I'm going to stop normally when I say go to failure. I'm going to stop at that last rep where I can do it with good form. And I'll go one past that so you guys can see the difference. So get set up like I always do, pin the shoulders, get my arch, get my feet set. Okay. So, that last rep, I had to, my body, I had to start contorting to get it up. I could have done a couple more, but once I started losing my form, now I'm looking at either changing the weight, going up, or moving to another exercise. At last set, it didn't seem like it was really apparent where failure occurred, because watching it, it looked like the last rep was just as easy as the previous one. So I'm going to put a little more weight on the bar and do a set that so you can see it a little more pronounced. So this is 245. Again, not the heaviest, but so again, I could have kept going, but I kind of had to get recruit some different muscles to get that last rep up. So that's where I'm going to call it a set to failure. So I'm really getting to where I need to start cheating. This is past failure. I gotta throw. And now I'm gonna keep going. And I'm even gonna do partial reps. Failure for curls. Go until you can't move your arms. Failure for bench. Stop when your form gives out. Why? Risk to reward. It's not a big deal if you fail on a set of curls and you got to drop the dumbbells. It is a very big deal if you're trying to bench 315 for 5 and on the 4th rep you dump the weight on yourself. So now we need to talk about how we're coming up with rep ranges. I dictate my rep ranges based on what my 1 rep maxes is. If you're new to barbell sports, lifting in general, one of the programs I often recommend for beginners is the 5x5. Starting strength 5x5. Typically speaking, what rep ranges do we start at? I always suggest that lifters start with 50% of their 1 rep max. So if you can, bench 225, start with 50% of that. Well, how do you get your 1 rep max? Well, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can either get in there and get underneath the barbell and try to lift as much as you can. And where you fail is what your 1 rep max is. But if you're training alone, if you're training in your garage, you don't have somebody to spot you, it can be hard to get your 1 rep max. It might be easy with a barbell squat, but even then, there's safety concerns. Even if you have a squat rack and you got the barbell on your back, do you really want to be dumping it? You might smash a bunch of stuff in your garage. So a better way to calculate your 1 rep max is using a simple equation, which is as follows: 1 RM equals W, which is weight, in times brackets, the number 1 plus R, which is reps, divided by 30, end of bracket. And it looks like this. So if I can bench 225 pounds, my 1 RM equals weight, which is 225 pounds, inside the brackets, the number 1 plus R, which is reps, for 10. I did 225 for 10, divided by 30, end of brackets. So reps is 10, divided by 30 is 0.333. So 225 weight times 1 plus 0.333 is equal to 299.925. So basically 300 pounds. If you can do 225 for 10, it's saying you can bench approximately 300 pounds. How accurate is that? I have found, for me, it has usually been within that 5 to 10 pounds of accuracy, depending on, some variables. How are you feeling that day? Did you eat? Did you sleep? Maybe you're feeling a little bit weak. Generally speaking, usually pretty accurate. That's a good way to go. So again, let me flash that equation. 1 RM equals W, weight, brackets, times 1 plus R, reps, divided by 30, end of bracket. And that's just an easy way to calculate what your 1 rep max is, and it works for any barbell lift. And it's again, fairly accurate. For me, maybe there's some... So, what are we talking about here? What's a good weight to start with? What do you want to be doing to see some kind of a good result in a decent amount of time? I really can't say enough about the 5x5 for a beginner program. Personally, I follow the Wendler 531. But as you can see, this is what a typical bench day might look like for me. And it's calling for 3 warm-up sets, 3 working sets, 60, 75, and 90% of my training max. And that's on that day is going to be 3 sets of 3, working up to 90% of my training max. On my heavy singles day, I'll do my next day in the rotation. Instead of doing 3 sets of 3, I'm going to be performing heavy singles. And then the next week after that, I'm going to be doing 5 sets of 5. So it rotates. I go 5 sets of 5, 3 sets of 3, heavy singles. And as the reps get smaller, the weight is higher. So if I tell you focus on triples, you should be doing more weight than you would be if you're doing 5s. So if I say focus on your 5 rep range, it's going to be lighter than focusing on triples. If I go heavy singles, it should be heavier than triples. And it's good to mix that up. You don't always want to be doing 3 sets of 3. You don't always want to be doing 5 sets of 5. For the beginners, it's a little bit different. Say you've never lifted before and you're new to barbell. You're going to benefit. You're going to get awesome results from sticking with the tried and true 5x5 for a good 6 months to a year. Once you start plateauing, then you want to start getting in, messing around with your rep ranges and getting intermediate. But for the beginning, what's nice about the 5x5 is it strikes a good balance between the higher rep range bodybuilding stuff and the heavy single power stuff. It's just that nice in the middle. And what weight do people usually start with? 50% of your 1 rep max is a generalization. You're going to find that you're going to have to adjust that a lot too, because depending on your genetics, your build, you might be one of those monsters who starts out his first couple of weeks, he's weak, he can barely do anything, and then 3-4 weeks into it, he's doubled his bench. Well, your 1 rep max is now way higher than what you started out with, and you should adjust your workout accordingly. Some guys are hard gainers. Some guys, they're going to have to fight for every pound they put on the bar. So there's no cookie cutter program that works for everyone. The best I can tell you is pick a program, stick with it long enough to see results. How long is that? 4 to 6 weeks. If you're going to know within 4 to 6 weeks what kind of adjustments you need to make. Do you need to be bringing more intensity? Do you need to change up your rep range? Are you struggling with injuries? Are you not able to do the movements? Don't give up before the miracle happens. So many people will start a program, find out it's too advanced, quit on it, or they do that thing where they're online and they're researching and they switch it up every week because they read something that they learned that's new. Oh, I haven't done that yet. Well, no, just stay. You pick something like the 5x5 or the Wendler 531 or an easy program. Marry it for a few weeks. Don't reinvent the wheel. Give yourself enough time to determine whether or not you're getting results from it. And I promise you this: if you're new to lifting, you're going to get results from just about everything you do as long as you are consistent and you have intensity. That's pretty much it. This isn't rocket science. So you got the takeaways from this are every single workout, whether I'm doing heavy singles, whether I'm doing triples, whether I'm doing fives, I always do my last working set to failure. So even on heavy singles day, I'm going to try to do that last set to failure. How often should I be working out? I'm new. What do I need? 5 days a week, 6 days a week? What do you do? Well, until you can find out what kind of monster you are, don't worry about overworking it to begin with. Start slow, go easy, work your way into it, but don't spend too long going slow and taking it easy. Try to ramp that intensity up. I would say a minimum of 3 days a week. The first 2 years I was training, my number one rule is never go more than 3 days between workouts. Rest days. You've heard it's important, super important. You don't want to overwork yourself. Overtraining applies to almost no one, not even me. When I'm going heavy, when I'm training for competition, I get downright psychotic. Sometimes I'm out in this garage 7 days a week, and I don't even overtrain. Why? Well, because 3 of those days I'm going full out. Bam, I'm putting as much weight on that bar as I can handle for the rep range I'm working at. And 2 of those days a week, I'm just coming out here to get away from the kids, and I'm doing some curls. Does that really count as a working day? Well, you lifted some weights. Yeah. Not every day is a workout. You're going to get your rest days. Life is going to throw your deload weeks at you. Most people haven't earned a deload week. Most people are not going anywhere near close enough to the intensity level that they need to be at to say they're risking overtraining. Most of us need to be working way, way, way harder than we are to see any kind of results. And I am absolutely one of those people. I go through my phases, man. Sometimes I lose motivation just like anyone else. And there are days I'm out here just going through the motions. Sometimes I do overtrain. There has been times where I was prepping for competition and I was noticing, I was looking at my numbers and they're all going down. My bench is going down. My squat's going down. My deadlift's going down. Everything's going down. That's when I start looking at what I'm doing wrong. And that's the reason why I track the data. As you can see on right here, I track everything. I log all the lifts I do. I put in when I had good days. I put in when I have bad days. And what that gives me information to work with. When I start seeing all 3 lifts going downhill, now I'm starting to think, maybe, am I overtraining? Am I going too hard? And then I start looking at things like, what's my diet been like? What's my sleep been like? Has any circumstances in my life changed? Am I losing weight? Almost, I would say, good 85-90% of all the times where I saw negative progress in my lifts, it's been because of weight drops. I'm one of those guys where if I go from 210 to 195, and I do it in 2-3 weeks, my strength drops significantly. And it takes me time to get back up to, at that current weight, it takes me a while to grind my way back up to the weight I was pushing before. Conversely, I'm also one of those guys where if I overload and pig out and put on, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds of bad weight, for whatever reason, even though it's probably mostly fat, I can lift more. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. I don't understand how just putting on more mass can make you stronger, but there is a correlation. And it's easy for me. I'm one of those guys that even though I'm on V47 this year, I have no problems dropping the weight. So within reason. If I pig out for a few months, and I did do this. In 2016, I got up to 230 pounds, and I wanted to break a personal deadlift record, and I was able to do so. And I got really, really strong. But I needed to lean back down because my knees started hurting. I didn't like the way I looked in the mirror, and I was like, I'm carrying around too much weight. 230 just didn't feel comfortable to me, and I didn't. Mostly, I thought I looked fat, and looking at pictures, it's I didn't think it was a good look. So when I went to drop back down to, I think I got down to 190, 192, and it did it in a reasonable amount of time. I would say 3-4 months. I lost a ton of strength. I lost nearly 100 pounds on my deadlift for a while. I was benching 365, 370 pounds, and I went down to barely being able to grind out 295, 300 for a little while. It was so bad I thought I was sick. I went to doctors and got checked out. I thought maybe I had a condition. They told me, you're getting old. That's what the doctor says. Well, what do you want? You're 46 years old. I know, you know your body better than that. But here's the cool thing. This is what's really awesome. Knowing that weight loss was going to be catastrophic to my strength, my overall strength, I focused on getting stronger at the weight that I currently am at. And even though it took me 6 months, the better part of a year, to get those numbers back, I am now as strong at 195 as I was at 230. And I can stay at this weight comfortably. So if I wanted to, I could eat a bunch of weight and get fat and, bench 20 more pounds. But it's not worth it. I'd rather just stay at a healthy weight. So what does my day in the gym look like? Typically 4 exercises. 1, primary movement, bench, deadlift, squat, overhead press. 2, accessories. If I'm doing benching, I'm doing floor presses, dumbbell presses, skull crushers, close grip, something that accompanies the bench. Another press movement, weighted dips, whatever. 2 accessories, 1 antagonistic movement. So I am benching, I'm doing dumbbell presses and I'm doing weighted dips, I'm also going to do one set of some kind of rowing exercise that goes in the opposite direction. This works for me, and I usually superset it with my last accessory set. So if I'm squatting, I'm going to do military presses that day. If I am deadlifting, I might do military presses, I might do floor presses, I'll do some kind of a pressing movement. So basically, if I'm doing back day, I do one push exercise. If I'm doing push day, bench day, I'm doing one pull exercise. And I do try to keep the plane of direction the same. So if I'm pressing up, I'm pulling down in the same direction. That, I don't know if that's a thing other people do, but what I found for me is it helped me keep balanced. Because I would go through these phases where I'm doing way too much pressing and not enough back. I would just get lazy. I wouldn't want to do back day. I found out that I was doing too much volume in one direction and not enough in the other. And just throwing that one set in of antagonistic movements helped me throughout the weeks and months keep everything balanced. So even if I did get lazy and skip back day, I still got some work in that week. The other thing I like to do is at the end of every workout, I like to do a set of curls or some kind of an arm exercise. So I rarely ever have arm day. I don't ever dedicate a day for arms. But for me, if I'm doing sets of curls at the end of every workout, just a quick pump, for the ladies, at the end of the week, I've got 4 or 5 days of arm volume in, and I don't know, they seem like they're doing okay. Could they be bigger? Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Works for me. I would be a liar if I said to you that my arm size wasn't important to me, but it is not the focus of my workouts. I'm rarely thinking about doing curls on arm or on back day. I'm thinking about how do I deadlift more. So what about abs? What do you think? Well, watch this. So this is me flexing the abs. Got those. That's me walking around. No, I'm parsing it out. Walking around, I'm rarely as impressive as when I'm all flexed up. And that's true for most people. So look at that. I got those straight. But just walking around, probably not that impressive. Yeah, sometimes if I'm wearing a sweater, you probably wouldn't even know I lifted weights. Do I do abs? Never. And always. What do you mean? I don't ever do sit-ups. I'm not doing crunches. I'm not doing planks. You don't need to. If you are deadlifting with proper form, and you are barbell squatting with proper form, and you're doing standing barbell exercises with proper form, all of those heavy compound movements with the barbell are all working your core. That is your abs. Your core is from knees to chest. Core. That's all getting worked out when you're doing full body movements. You guys that are doing kettlebell swings, farmer's carries, all that stuff. If you're doing heavy compound movements with sufficient repetition and intensity, you are getting tons of core work in. I like doing crunches. Do them. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm too lazy to do sit-ups. Is that the right? I don't have time for it. It's unnecessary. You don't need to. You can totally eliminate exercises you don't need to do and get your volume in other ways. For me, it's way more efficient. It's a way more efficient use of my time to do a variety of squats than it is for me to sit there and try to bang out hundreds of sit-ups every day. There's a squat variation called the Zercher, where much like a front squat, you hold the barbell in the crook of your arms and you squat with it. When you're doing those, you are flexing the crap out of your core. You don't need to do sit-ups on that day. If I'm doing cable pulls and I put, I get my back straight and I got enough weight on it where it's pulling me over, I'm flexing my core when I'm doing those. If I'm doing press downs, you can even incorporate your core in some of those. If you're doing pulls with the rope, you can crunch into it. You can actually focus on doing your abs while you're doing different kinds of pulling and pressing exercises. So you don't really need to do sit-ups. I'm telling you, on the lives of my children and everything that I've ever owned in my life, not one sit-up went into getting these. You don't need to do it. Are they bad? No, sit-ups are awesome. If you really like doing them, if that's your thing, like the guys that are, those doing the leg lifts and Supermans and all that crap, that's your thing, do it. Hey, you do whatever you're going to do to get in the shape you want to get into, and don't let anybody tell you that it's stupid, or just because they don't like it doesn't mean it's not good. It just ain't for me. I got crap to do, and I would much rather do, 5 sets of squats and get on with my day than to be sitting in here trying to do planks for an hour. Lastly, we touch on diet. I'm going to do an entire presentation on dieting, what's worked for me, what I hear on the internet, what's just nonsense. An example of nonsense. Yesterday at work, one of my coworkers says to me, as I was eating a couple of noodle soup because I hadn't gone grocery shopping, he goes, I don't eat those. The guy way too much salt in them, and I don't want to get fat. And it kind of I did one of those. I said, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, salt makes you retain water, and I don't want to look fat. Oh, okay. Well, I can see some pseudoscience there. And I thought about diving into it and explaining how the biological system works. But then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm at work. Do I really want to get into it? This guy's young. He's got his misconceptions that I know he's gotten from the internet watching workout videos. And I could try to explain how things work in the real world when it applies to training and diet. But I just was like, let it go. No big deal. What diet do I follow? It doesn't matter. I don't really follow a diet. I eat whatever I want to eat. Now, keep in mind, my eating whatever I want to eat is probably healthy by most people's standards, but if I want Pop-Tarts, I eat them. There's one thing you need to understand about dieting. In general, caloric intake is God. Calories in, calories out. If over a period of time you consume more calories than your body requires to live throughout the day, you're going to gain weight. Conversely, if you consume less calories than your body requires to get through the day, over time, you're going to lose weight. You will fluctuate anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds during the day. But from the period when you wake to the period you go to sleep at night, if you were to weigh yourself throughout the day, you will find that your weight can fluctuate 5 to 10 pounds. Common. Maybe you did have too much salt in your retaining water. Maybe you just ate 10 pounds of chicken. Well, guess what? You just ate all that. It's inside of you. You're going to weigh more. Maybe you just maybe you dropped a couple kids off at the pool and you weigh a little less. Maybe you just went to the bathroom. Maybe you drank a bunch of water. Maybe you had 5 cups of coffee like I do, and you've been peeing nonstop for 2 hours straight. Maybe you're working outside and it's hot out and you're dehydrated. Generally speaking, I try to weigh myself in the morning. This is when I'm trying to maintain a weight for sake of competing. I need to be at 198 or below in order to compete at this weight class. I'm going to watch my weight. I'll weigh myself once in the morning and once before I go to bed. And then throughout the week, I will average that out and see if I'm trending up or trending down. I do not make diet decisions based on one day of stepping on the scale and seeing, holy crap, I put on 5 pounds since yesterday. No, you didn't. You did not put on 5 pounds of lean body tissue or fat in one day. It could be a lot of things. Your body's made out of a ton of stuff, and one day on the scale is not from the next is not going to give you the information that you need to make educated decisions. For a long time, I was doing intermittent fasting, and I thought I was getting great results from it. It worked out that I worked swing shift, which was around noon till about 8 o'clock at night. And I would eat while I was at work, and then I wouldn't eat when I came home. So my feeding window was in that time frame, and I thought that's the reason why I was getting so ripped, because I was narrowing that feeding window. But then I started actually doing the numbers. I started totaling up the amount of calories I was eating while I was at work, and I was kind of averaging it to the amount of calories I would eat outside of work. And I found that I was eating less calories because I was keeping my feeding window down to a point where it was just too hard to consume that much. So yeah, I was kind of forcing myself to diet, but was that window where I was eating actually the reason why I was losing weight? I don't know. I think that there's a lot of bro science in that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a biologist. And if some doctor told you to do intermittent fasting, yeah, don't listen to me. You listen to that guy. He's a paid professional with many, many, many years of school, and I'm just some D-bag that lifts weights in his gym. So I'm not even going to try. I'm just telling you what works for me. What works for me is watching calories in versus calories out. I try to average what I'm eating. I try to keep track of what I'm eating. And if I want to cut some weight, I eat a little bit less, work a little bit harder in the gym, burn more calories. You can either eat less, burn more, preferably both. And conversely, if I want to put some weight on, I want to put some mass on, I eat a little more than I need. How much more? Bulking! Don't bulk. I want to discourage you as much as possible from just bulking the crap out of yourself and getting fat and huge. And yeah, you might seem like you're putting a ton of muscle mass on. You might even look like you are at first, but eventually you're gonna be putting fat on. And older guys, it's hard to come off. Am I speaking for everyone my age? Probably not. We're all different genetically. It was hard for me. It was hard for me to take the weight off, and I was losing a bunch of strength while it was happening. And then when I did get to the target weight that I was at, I didn't really think it was worth what I had to go through to get back to that point. So what I've been really liking about my new way of doing things is trying to maintain a healthy weight that I'm comfortable being at, meaning I'm not going to walk around at sub 10% body fat because I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to watch every little thing I eat. If I want a cheeseburger, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger. If I want some Pop-Tarts, I'm going to eat Pop-Tarts. At the same time, yeah, put the fork down. You maybe you don't need that extra, whatever plate of fry. You don't have to finish everything you're eating. You can enjoy life. It's called moderation. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Eat as much as you can. Vary it up. Proper nutrition. How do I tackle that? How do I make sure I'm getting enough of everything? Do I count macros? Do I count protein? No. If you just eat as much of a variety of things as you can, you're going to find that unless you have just the crappiest spending habits and you don't buy anything of nutritional value, eating a variety is going to cover you. I've never in my life met somebody that was protein deficient. So these guys that think they need 3 grams of protein per pound of, whatever, you don't need to work that hard. I've never met anyone who is protein deficient. These guys that eat no carbs, your body will burn protein for energy. And if you want, we can do a video on how that works. Now, for that, I would lean on my wife because she's the biology major and she understands the science behind it. But I will say this. Eating some carbs is protein sparing. So your body's not going to burn protein for energy. And if you eat some carbs with the little bit of protein that you are eating, you will find that you don't need to load up on a ton of it. You're going to get enough in your diet just eating a normal, balanced, healthy, varied diet. Pretty simple. Don't overthink it. Get in there, get some weight on the bar, do a good amount of work, get those sets to failure in your working sets, train at least 3 days a week, try to bring some intensity, progressively overload, get those weights up every week, try to add something more, reps, weight, something has to increase in order for you to progress, and stick with a program long enough to see some results. That's it. Just keep doing it. And then, 4 to 6 weeks in, examine everything, see how it's working, and make adjustments.